So here's a fascinating story that I wanted to share with you. Franklin Graham hosting 10 rallies in California urging Christians to vote. So that's interesting. Now, California is one of the most democratic states in the country. So, it sounds like he's barking up the wrong tree there in terms of trying to rally the troops in a state like that, because that's kind of like us going to Mississippi and trying to get a bunch of Mississippi voters to vote with us. But then you stop and think about it and go, well, hold on, that's actually the point. The point is that it's kind of untouched by Republicans in many respects, California. So he wants to go and show those people, like, hey, we're still here, and I'm still with you, and maybe you should be mobilized, and maybe you should go vote, and you should have your voice heard. And of course, Franklin Graham is the kind of character who really focuses on bullshit social issues like, hey, let's end abortion and fuck gay people and stuff like that. That sounded funny. He's against gay people. He doesn't want to fuck gay people. Well, maybe he does. Who knows? But, listen, on the one hand, this is funny and kind of laughable because maximum maybe 25% or 30% of the country are inclined to agree with this guy in the first place. So he's kind of fighting a losing battle. But at the same time, it's like, well, isn't this what Democrats should be doing in terms of democratic socialists and people who want to get our message spread? Shouldn't we be going to red states, and shouldn't we be going to Nebraska and going to fucking Mississippi and Louisiana and preaching what we believe in order to try to get people mobilized and get people to vote? And that is the answer, man. And then it dawned on me that there's a reason why in so many of these elections, Republicans are expected to lose and then they win. And turnout is one of the biggest parts of that, is that oftentimes Republicans, and hardcore Republicans at that, evangelical Christians, they view voting as a civil duty. Like, okay, we have to do this. There's really no choice here. It's something that we must do. And so they always show up all the fucking time, over and over. Now, they also happen to have no voter ID laws targeting them and no voter suppression tactics targeting them, so it's a lot easier for them to vote. I understand that completely. But at the same time, it is true that even despite the voter suppression tactics, there is generally a lower turnout among millennials, a lower turnout among Democrats. So even though this guy has a goofy, silly, stupid ideology, the fact that he's going to a hotbed of liberalism to preach his message is like, damn, we should be doing that elsewhere. So it's kind of respectable in a way, even though I couldn't disagree with him more on the substance. So you just hope that we've reached a point when it comes to his particular belief system, evangelical Christianity, where there's no going back and the trends are clear. And right now the trends are clear. I mean, over 20% of the American people have no religion, don't believe in any religion. That number didn't used to be that high, and that number keeps growing. Especially with younger people, they're just more non-religious. So you hope that no matter how much he tries to push back against that wave, he can't overcome it, and the wave ends up becoming the norm, and our trends end up more like European trends, where just almost everybody's non-religious at this point. You hope that that's the case, but you never know. Because, again, if Trump can get elected, being what he represents, given what he represents, well then, you can never rest assured that, like, hey, the trends of history, no matter what, are going to go in the right direction. Yes, they oftentimes do, but man, you could hit some big old roadblocks and speed bumps, can't you? So it's interesting that this guy is going to California to try to do rallies urging evangelical Christians to vote. And maybe it's totally ineffectual and he can't get anything done, or maybe it does work and, maybe at the local level or some state positions you get evangelicals winning. But that's why you need to stay mobilized if you're somebody on the populist left, because you're fighting a two-front battle. You're fighting against reactionary forces, so Republicans and the far right and the evangelical Christians and people like that, but you're also fighting against the corporate Democrats. So, there's, doubly speaking, there's no rest for people on the populist left and democratic socialists. So hopefully, we find this kind of energy and we find this kind of tactic to tap into, because even though it's silly in the context of an evangelical Christian doing it in California, we should really be doing this in Nebraska and Mississippi and elsewhere, because I do believe in a 50-state strategy, because I think our message will actually convince people once they're exposed to it.